Hey, what's going on, guys? Welcome back. The big eFootball season update is finally here, and there's actually quite a bit to go through this time. The first thing I want to mention is Custom Tournament, because this is one of those additions that could be really useful for people who play with friends. You can now create your own tournament, adjust the rules and settings, and then have other players join in. So instead of everything being built around the usual online modes, there is now a proper way to set up your own competition. Konami has clearly pushed this update toward making the game more social, which fits with the whole idea of playing together. We also have changes to the daily game, with new mini-games being introduced. That gives the mode a little more variety instead of having the same experience every day. There are also new effects in the player signing cinematics, so opening a special player list should look a bit different as well. Now, one of the biggest gameplay additions is dynamic volley. When the ball is in the air, you can use the stunning shot command and your player can attempt a volley toward goal. This is pretty interesting because it gives crosses and loose aerial balls another attacking option. You are not simply waiting for the ball to come down anymore. Timing becomes much more important, and depending on the situation, you could see some really nice finishes from the edge of the box or inside the area. Then there is Overload, the new team playstyle. The idea here is to move more players toward the side where the ball is, creating numerical advantages in tight areas. When you attack, this can make short passing easier because you have more teammates nearby. When you lose possession, the team can also stay compact and close down the player with the ball more quickly. It is a very different approach from simply spreading everyone across the pitch, so this could change how people build their game plans. And tactics in general have received a pretty serious overhaul. Playing styles are now split into attacking and defensive categories. A player can have an attacking style, a defensive style, or both, and Konami has added several new styles with more focus on defensive behavior. This is important because player behavior should become easier to understand when you are setting up a squad. Instead of having one broad playing style define everything, you now get more control over how a player behaves in different phases of the match. There is also a new option called fluid formation, and this is probably one of the most interesting tactical features in the whole update. You can now have one formation when attacking and another when defending. So, for example, a fullback might push much higher when your team has the ball, then drop back into a defensive position when possession changes. A winger could do something similar by moving deeper to give you extra defensive numbers. That gives you a lot more room to experiment without constantly changing your lineup manually. Some game plan settings have also been cleaned up. Individual instructions such as attacking and deep line have been removed, while auto pick players now includes an option to prioritize your base team. Position filters have been improved too because they now recognize players with strong position proficiencies, as well as players whose cards officially list that position. Your active game plan stats are also easier to see during player progression and for players sitting in the reserves. There are some useful quality of life improvements as well. Backup player slots have been increased to 900, manager slots have gone up to 100, and you can now check your login bonus progress from inside missions. Substitutes are also visible in your opponent's game plan, which should make it easier to understand what changes they have available without waiting for everything to cycle through during the match. Now let's get into the gameplay adjustments because there are a lot of them. Player movement has been heavily reworked with new animations for footwork, sudden bursts, posture, and changes of direction. The goal is to reduce those awkward moments where a player seems to cross their legs or turn in a way that just does not match where they are actually moving. Dribbling has also received a lot of attention. Konami has added new dribbling animations, adjusted how those animations are selected, and improved the way players interact physically when they come into contact with defenders. There should be fewer strange-looking pushes and fewer moments where your player performs a contest animation for no real reason. Slow dribbling is slightly quicker, players are more likely to use their stronger foot when the situation allows it, and turning should feel more consistent because different animations should create less variation in speed. At the same time, dash dribble has been adjusted, with its maximum speed slightly reduced. That means defenders should have a little more time to react when someone decides to go straight past them with pace. It is a subtle balance change, but it could have a noticeable effect in 1-versus-1 situations. Ball control has been improved too. There are new animations for receiving passes from awkward angles, trapping airborne balls, turning sharply after controlling a high ball, and adjusting your body when an opponent is nearby. The game should now do a better job of moving your player toward the ball rather than leaving them standing in place while the pass rolls away. Passing has also been adjusted. In certain situations, players can now use shoulder passes more naturally when there is no nearby opponent, and receiving players should position themselves better when an opponent is close. The idea is to make the first touch feel more connected to what is happening around the player, instead of treating every pass as an isolated animation. Shooting has a few changes too. One-time shots on fast-moving balls have been improved for accuracy, and there are situations where a shot can now be driven into the ground. Combined with the new volley command, shooting should have a little more variety than before. And then there is heading, which has probably received one of the most detailed sets of adjustments in the entire update. New animations have been added for aerial battles, backward headers, and balls coming from different angles. Player turning has been improved during these situations, while header height and contact points have been adjusted, so players are less likely to make contact with the ball in awkward positions. Headed passes have also been reworked. Lofted headers should travel higher, while some headed passes and clearances that previously stayed too low should now have more natural trajectories. The game is also supposed to reduce those strange moments where a player attempts a diving header, even though they clearly have enough time to control the ball normally. Beyond gameplay, the update also brings the new season data. Major leagues have received updated team structures for the new season, including England, Spain, France, Italy, the Netherlands, Portugal, Belgium, Scotland, Switzerland, Turkey, Denmark, Thailand, and Japan. The Moroccan League has also been added. Alongside that, there are updated kits, emblems, boots, bulbs, player photos, stadium graphics, advertising boards, commentary, music, announcements, and other licensed content. There is one other thing players should be aware of, especially if you have a big collection of older standard cards. Konami has warned that some players and managers may become unavailable because of licensing and content changes. Those affected cards will not be usable in matches, and the unavailable list can be checked through extras, support, and unavailable list. The actual implementation is planned for later in the season, so this update is mainly giving players a way to see which cards could be affected. And finally, there are a few season rollover changes worth remembering. Courtesy rating is reset to A. The balance sheet carries over, although some names may disappear depending on licensing and game data, and match history does not carry over. Those details were specifically confirmed ahead of the season update. So when you put everything together, this is much more than a routine data refresh. The tactical system has changed, player behavior has been reworked, aerial play is getting a serious adjustment, there is a new way to organize tournaments with friends, and the new season data is now in place across a long list of leagues. The biggest question is going to be how all these changes feel after players have had enough time to adjust, because some of these mechanics could completely change the way matches are played from one division to the next.